Northwest Now is supported, in part, by viewers like you. Thank you.
I went through a guardrail, severed my leg immediately.
I ended up catching an RPG right through my lower left leg.
They are amputees trying to cope with an uncertain future.
Honestly, I was really ashamed to be an amputee. I wasn't ready to have my life change like this.
So I drank, and I was frustrated.
But now, a pair of local brothers usher in an era of new technology that changes lives.
The strength is in you. You just got to tap into it, use it. There's nothing you can't do.
Now, yeah, it's pretty lucky.
How far we've come. Amputees scarred by war, disease, and accidents, now doing what would have been unthinkable just a few decades ago, the product of centuries of research and development dating back to the Egyptians. In a small shop in Puyallup, Washington, that tradition continues, as Nathan Davidson puts the finishing touches on a prosthetic device that combines the latest advances in the material sciences, engineering, and even art.
You know, when you see somebody who's been, down and out for several months after following an amputation, and you see them, get up and walk for the first time, it always, makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck. It makes you feel, that's true satisfaction there. And I think in some ways I take it for granted because we do it, pretty regularly, but it still is always a real gratifying experience to see somebody get up who has been down for a while and start moving again.
While Nathan is the businessman, brother Greg is the world-renowned innovator who has spent decades learning how to custom build sockets, determine the best method of suspension for each patient based on their specific injury, and integrating new things like gel liners into his creations. When it comes to prosthetics, patients call him a rock star and say he's a carpenter, a mechanic, a tailor, and a listening ear, all rolled into one.
It is a perfect balance of being able to be creative, be in a shop environment where you're making things, and then having interaction with people and seeing the results of things that you do is very compelling to me.
Now, putting his troubles aside, you'll recall that it was Oscar Pistorius' 2012 Olympic triumph that introduced many of us to the awesome power of carbon fiber running springs. The problem is, though, that full springs are pretty much useless for anything else. So Davidson, who was already using carbon fiber to shave seconds off of athletes' times here in the U.S., started experimenting with spring shapes on legs and feet to make them more versatile. On a whim, he gave his first one to an energetic boy just to see how it worked.
And that's all he would wear for the next 9 months until the spring broke. So I realized at that time I had to come up with something that would allow him to walk normally, but yet still have the feel of a running leg.
What followed was 18 months of 70-hour weeks as he invented and perfected. On developmental build number 11, a soldier from San Antonio, Texas, using a state-of-the-art servo-driven electronic prosthetic leg, came to the Northwest to give Greg's creation a try.
And he said, you know what? He says, all my feet I'm never going to use again other than this, because I feel a similar kind of energy and power, but I don't have to have all this weight and battery and noise and problems of this other technology. So to me, that was so exciting. I don't think I slept that night.
What finally emerged out of this small shop in Puyallup is now sold worldwide as the Iceland-based Acer company's Cheetah Explorer, a light, simple crossover leg and foot with most of the benefits of a running spring, but suitable for everyday life and just about any sport other than competitive running. An early set went to an Enumclaw woman named Carol Decker, who lost her left hand, her eyesight, and both lower legs to a massive sepsis infection.
She got to the other side of the room, and it was very emotional for her. I had to bring her a chair because she had to sit down because she was crying, and she told me later that she felt that she had this rush of emotion because she was feeling back all this power and energy that you know, she had so much taken away from her, and now she's getting all this back. And that was a moment that that I'll always remember.
A gym just outside of the rural town of Yelm is where you'll find Kim Blau pumping iron with the best of them. In 1988, she was just starting her job in Olympia as a page in the legislature when she lost her leg to cancer at age 16.
When they told me about the cancer, I was okay, may have to lose the leg, okay. Told me I was going to lose my hair, I lost it. That was my, 16, for a girl, your hair is everything. That was the biggest drama of my life, was having to lose my hair, and had lost it for a couple years.
Now at age 44, Kim recalls spending decades struggling with ill-fitting prosthetics until she found the Davidson brothers, and now their hybrid design. Trusting the new leg for stability while doing something like squats has been a major milestone.
But it's a mental thing. You feel like you get down as far as you can go, but really it's not as far as you can go. You can go a little bit further, but it's just scary. So.
It's given me a new life. I'm not uncomfortable in my leg. I am ready, I'm eager to go do things. I want to go do things. New things are still scary, as they are to everybody, but not as scary, because I don't have to worry about the leg during it.
What about the cosmetic piece? A lot of female, particularly amputees, talk about their pretty leg.
Yes.
They want it covered
Yes,
with looking pretty.
Absolutely. And but for a long time, I even hid mine. And I had kids, so I would hide mine more so my kids wouldn't get teased. A couple times kids said, oh, your mom has, one leg, what's wrong with her? So I went to this full-blown, I'm going to cover up. I don't want people to know. I don't want my kids to get, any grief for it. So went to Greg, I need this leg shaped like another leg. I need it so that if people come, see me, they have no idea. And that's exactly what he did.
But the cosmetic legs are fading. Over time, Blau says the functionality of the new leg designs far outweigh all the other considerations. And with all the veterans returning from war sporting their high-tech prosthetics, Kim finally felt comfortable enough to really go out on a limb and enter figure competitions.
Kimberly Blau.
Her trophies and awards are a testament to a new level of courage she found only in the past couple of years.
To be comfortable in there and get up on stage was just more of a, this is me, as I am, as raw as I can be, with the leg, and I did it. That's the main reason I did it. I did it for me, for internal acceptance, just to see me in the light of what I am, and that the leg took me there. It took me there. It was amazing.
Are you using the ratchet pin?
Back in the shop, patients drop by just about any time they want. Linda Sue Rowland came in from Kirkland for an adjustment on the leg she uses for work. A horse accident at age 16 damaged her leg, and after 14 years of surgeries, she decided to amputate at age 30.
I didn't have a life, and they actually asked me what I wanted, and I said, I want my life back, the doctors at Harborview. And they said, then you have to amputate the leg. And by amputating it, I got my life back.
Back when Rowland was amputated, she says the basic attitude was that you got what you got when it came to prosthetics. That has changed along with the technology. While her adjustment on this particular day was to the leg she uses at home and work, I asked her if she thought she'd ever be doing the things she's doing now with the Explorer leg that she uses for sports like swimming, a mini triathlon, and running.
Now I believe it, but with some of my old legs and where I've been before, no, I didn't think, I just need to get through the day. Now, yeah, it's pretty lucky.
The Davidson brothers work with a small cross-section of the amputee community, focusing mainly on those who are younger and striving to maintain their previously active lives. Daniel Marsh is an example of that.
Yeah, it's nice.
He lost his leg at age 19 after falling asleep at the wheel.
I was burning the candle, and 5 a.m. on the way to work, I closed my eyes around the corner. Right as I reached my work site, I went through a guardrail and severed my leg immediately at that point.
Marsh has burned through a lot of different legs in the past 18 years as he's worked to rebuild his life as a mountain climber and outdoor athlete. His experience has taught him that the life he leads now really has little to do with what he went through emotionally in the weeks and months after his amputation.
Yeah, it's pretty hopeless at first, you're right. But there are some advocates along your side really early, at least in my experience, helping you start to believe this, that yeah, these opportunities are going to exist and you can get back out there and get your game back.
Now, Marsh is trying to get more of his game back with Davidson's Explore leg and foot, and on day one, the results seem pretty good. Matthew Waters looks like any other Tacoma police officer hitting the range for a little pistol practice. But in 2003, during a night raid in Iraq with the 2nd Ranger Battalion, everything changed in a flash.
Went into the hottest area, the main objective, and there was middle of the night, a lot of things going on, but I ended up catching an RPG right through my lower left leg. Blew me up, went through me, blew me up, gave me various injuries, but my most severe being my lower left leg amputation right then and there.
Waters' never say die mentality and great support had him up and moving on a prosthetic leg. While pretty high-tech for its time, it was just enough to give him a shot at qualifying for police work.
So yeah, it was just a standard pylon with a rubber foot, and I did what I had to do with that. That's what I got on the department with. That's what I took my PT test with. Thankfully, at that point, I think I was young enough. My age and coming out of the military, I was in the best shape of my life. So I think that had a big role in it, that I could overcome any lack of technology at that point.
Waters says his new Cheetah Explore leg has changed everything, giving him new energy, stability, and if he needs it in a pinch, even speed.
Yeah, you add this gear and I'm, not 23 anymore. And sometimes I try to talk I try to talk my way out of problems more than run after my problems. I can usually solve it by talking, but every once in a while, you got to run.
Jim Martinson is a national legend, a bilateral, above-the-knee amputee who, perhaps in a late surge of masochism at age 69, has decided to take on golf. In 1968, he lost his legs to a landmine in Vietnam, which killed his dream of pro skiing and, for a while, his hope for a future.
Yeah, not bad. So I drank, and I was frustrated. I guess I was more frustrated than I thought. And it just was a ugly 6 months to a year that I went through.
Martinson says Jesus and his wife turned him around, and boy did they. Martinson's old shop contains the evidence of a lifetime spent in athletic competition that has taken him around the world with more honors and awards than the space can hold. He spent a career designing chair-based aids for just about every sport, including the monoshock sit ski that put him in the Hall of Fame. But now, with his new leg technology, he says the days of chair-based competitions may start to fade.
But don't put this on TV, my wife will... No, I'm just kidding.
Martinson is an institution at the American Lake Veterans Golf Course, where his new carbon spring legs and feet work with servo-driven knee joints from the German Autobot company to get him around the course just fine.
Don't do that.
The legs work great, but after decades on old school legs, he still struggles to get his mind to trust them.
This is really hard for me to learn because my mind is still back in the legs that I wore for so many years. You can actually ride your legs and knees down the hill, so your knees are actually bent at the same time and not collapsing. I can't get that in my brain. I'm getting closer and I'm seeing it. Golfing on the golf course really helps because we have all this different terrain. I ride the cart, get out, walk over to the ball, walk down a hill, walk to the tee box, walk to the putting surface, walk into the sand trap, and it's amazing. I study these videos over and over because I want to be like these 25 and 30-year-old guys that are
Don't we all?
But remember, my legs are young, so they're new. It's not the legs aren't the problem. It's the actual brain inside my head that holds me back.
Jim Martinson and others like him show us what's possible, just how far the human spirit can rise in the face of adversity. But in reporting this story, I also got to wondering whether there's a flip side to all this. perhaps a feeling of enough already, to stories about the kinds of international athletes and achievers the Davidson brothers help enable.
I had that teed up too high.
Do stories like this help or hurt in some ways? Because we all have this expectation now that amputees are going to be awesome and inspirational stories. And if you're not out running a marathon, somehow you're letting the rest of the amputee community down. That's a lot to lay on people, I think. Is there a risk of that to some degree when I'm out interviewing all these awesome people?
I don't think there's a risk of having a person that's newly injured get turned off. I think the hardest expectation is family members will say, and this will happen every single day to me, oh, I know somebody that lost their leg and they ran a marathon. And I go, whoa, 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 whoa. One leg, one foot, one ankle, one toe. What part of the leg? You know, you can't put all these people in this box. This box doesn't work.
In a couple of decades, we might think that the athletes we admire today were in a box of sorts, as a lot of the high-tech electronic devices, too heavy, too temperamental, and expensive today, become commonplace tomorrow.
Do you ever think we'll see prosthetics get to the point where a guy with prosthetics almost becomes more efficient, stronger, better, faster? We've rebuilt him, and holy cow.
I don't think so, unless you've got health problems. You know, our bodies are amazing, and keeping your limbs sound is at least in the future of my life will be best to keep your limbs, but it's certainly not the disadvantage that it was.
Could we see a time when limbs are fully integrated into the body, where all these connections and the articulation with our electronics and everything are almost make it indistinguishable from the normal human body?
I think the hope would be yes, that we would want that. I think that will depend on funding. I think that mankind will continue to do whatever possible to develop things, but if there's not enough money to fund that development, it won't go as quickly or at all.
I haven't even thought of that because I'm so comfortable where I am and with this, and I've tried the higher technology, and I don't want a microprocessor. I want something that if I want, if I need the knee to bend, I want it to bend. I don't want to have to wait for a microprocessor chip to slowly take it down. Do I think that one day they'll be replacing legs? Absolutely. Will I be one of those? I don't know.
In the decade the Davidson brothers have been in business, they've taken hundreds of patients from bedridden to walking, to running, and even competing.
Thank you, Your Highness.
Andrea Haish is one of the people trying to take a leap into a more capable leg like the Explorer. Her leg was crushed in a climbing accident, and she opted for amputation instead of years of reconstructive surgery. At first, it was pretty tough.
There were lots of months worrying about what this new life would present to me and what this new normal would entail. Lots of worry, lots of times of being ashamed. Honestly, I was really ashamed to be an amputee. I wasn't ready to have my life change like this.
Now, though, Haish is an active kindergarten teacher who says that although she still wants the cosmetic covering on her leg, she's getting more comfortable without it. And I get the feeling her class has sort of led the way on this.
It's like a surprise. It's funny because in the beginning of the year, they are so excited to go home and tell their parents that their teacher has a robot leg or that their teacher has a prosthetic leg. But then you really see how they adapt to it, and a few weeks into school, it's like no big deal. And I think that that's something that everyone should learn from, right? Like, it's okay to look at someone if they're a little bit different from you. It's okay to have a glance, but like if you're an adult and if you respect someone's privacy or their lifestyle, like you're not going to dwell on it. And I think that my kids, my students, like really embody that sort of respect, that they can look at me as their teacher and like they know that I'm different than maybe their parents or their aunts and uncles or other teachers that they'll have in the future, but they don't let that inhibit our relationship at all, which I wish everyone did.
That's how Haish wants it, not to be a big deal. She just wants people to quit with the questions and let amputees be, like they would anybody else. In other words, remember that amputees don't like reliving their worst day all the time, and don't want that to be the opener to every conversation.
Maybe I'll start running now.
You tend to put your...
Oh wait, I hate running. First, I'm Andrea. Second, I'm a teacher. Third, I'm, this like wild woman that loves to travel. And, maybe 10th, I'm an amputee. Like, it's just really not something that I wore on my sleeve. And now it's going to be more obvious that I am an amputee, and I'm excited for this new adventure. But like I said, like first and foremost, I'm Andrea. Yeah, it feels good. I feel like a whole new woman. Or maybe just 10% new one.
Attracting new people to research and development in prosthetics is challenging because of the combination of craftsmanship, academic study, and practical experience it takes to be able to create,
And I'll tighten it here.
fit, and adjust prosthetics. But the Davidsons say those moments of triumph make it all worth it.
To see the emotion on them is something that I resonate with. And every person has their own story in their battle after losing their leg, and so being a part of helping them regain their function is about the coolest job I could think of.
You ever get a little emotional?
Oh yeah, I think we try to steel ourselves. We're tough guys that don't get emotional. But just recently, we had a patient come in and that had been having trouble for years with getting a comfortable fit, and when the patients break down after wearing something for a period of time, saying, "Hey, this is actually going to work," they realize it's going to have a big effect on their lives. That's emotional to us too.
The situations where somebody actually realizes that they can actually do something, or that this new development that we're able to do for them, brings back something that they've lost, really is exciting to me.
That's why you do it.
Yeah.
Now, some might say the Davidsons' practice is a lesson in how not to run a business where hours are spent doing custom work without appointments much of the time and with seemingly unlimited adjustments and tinkering to get things just right. But that dedication to craft and patient satisfaction is why so many people come from all across the country, and why it's changed the Davidson brothers' lives too.
You've changed patients' lives. How have they changed you?
When I come into work, just about daily, I can meet somebody who's going through something that's much more difficult than I have, or has gone through something much, much more difficult. And I think, hey, this person's doing that. I need to, move on with, my problems are nothing compared to what that person has had to go through. And so those patients change me, or make me appreciate what I have, but also make me respect them for what they've done.
So they've helped you grow up. They've given you perspective.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the golfing, the workouts, the training, it all continues and seems so normal now. But it sure didn't early on, which this group says is a final note of encouragement they want to leave new patients who lose limbs or elect amputation over reconstruction.
It's okay, and it's okay my biggest fear even was if my pant legs didn't fill up the same, or if my butt was lopsided because my leg didn't fit right. And now it's okay to not care. And I think part of it's society, but I also think a lot of it is internal acceptance. Being able to accept that it's not the same. Quit faking it, quit trying to hide it. Just do what's comfortable, live, have fun.
It's really something where I don't have very many amputees that are focused on trying to hide it anymore. A lot of them are very proud that they can be so functional. They'll wear shorts and show their leg off, and it's not as big of a deal like it used to be.
I would say within a year, I realized pretty confidently that my life was going to be okay. And now a few years later, I'm incredibly happy with my decision and where it's brought me in life.
The advances that you can expect in the future are going to blow your mind. And so, it's taken 20 years to get to this point, but I'm along for a lot longer of a ride, so I'm really optimistic for what's to come, and you know, just hang in there. Every day it gets better.
So a bad result doesn't have to come from this necessarily.
No, the bad result does not have to come from this. You can give it whatever you want, but it starts in your heart and your head. You know, you got to get your heart right. It helps get your brain right, and then you work like a dog.
KBTC Public Television is an active member of the community, spreading awareness, celebrating diversity, and illuminating the paths of social discourse and growth. Join the conversation. Email your comments and suggestions to northwestnow@kbtc.org. You can also submit your story ideas by clicking on the link at the bottom of the Northwest Now webpage at kbtc.org. KBTC can be found on Facebook by simply searching KBTC. Get inside information about upcoming programs, post your comments, and connect with other viewers and resources relating to our program's topics. Follow @KBTC TV on Twitter, where you can receive notifications about what we're working on right now, what to look for, and connect with other viewers and linking resources on the topics in which you're interested. KBTC is your public TV station, and we want to hear from you.